Hello everyone, excited to have Samit joining us today. And I'm Junchi Lu working at Bristol Squibb, and I'm honored to interview Samit for today. And Samit, you mentioned you have been in SAPA conference for many years, like over 6 years, and have been involved in different roles. So would you like to share a little bit, what are your thoughts for the SAPA annual conference for this year, and what would you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to come and connect with the community. People who come from various parts of a pharmaceutical organization across the industry, and you can freely talk to each other, learning from each other. I remember coming here 6 years ago, I think in 2017 or 18, I forget now, where I was talking about cell therapies. But more than my talk, I was more impressed about what I learned, because people were able to talk about the evolution that was burgeoning at that time. As we talked about cell therapies, the manufacturing capabilities, which were really challenged at that time. How one could go from a very manual process to a way of manufacturing in a closed system. And those were the learnings that I was able to go and talk to my colleagues back at that time in a different company, but have carried that forward even as I think about now working at BMS. And over the years, I've obviously kept in touch with a lot of those people. I've learned a lot that has happened at SAPA. So I'm really glad to come back here and learn again on what today is happening in the world of pharmaceutical industry, not only in the United States, but beyond that, because you have the representation from a lot of countries from the Asian perspective as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Samit. As you mentioned, this is a community that we want to generate a lot of value, but we cannot do it alone with all of your distinguished speakers and all the researchers highlighting in this field. So really appreciate that. My second question is a little bit extension of our first question. As you mentioned, your talk about the resilience and making innovations within this urgency time, right? So would you like to share about what type of technology or industry trend are you excited about? What would you want to share with our audience today?
So I think if you think about the industry, and the modalities that we are bringing forward across the therapeutic areas, you can easily think about them as small molecules, antibodies, or biologics, as they say. Now, antibodies could be simple naked antibodies, or they could be complex, bispecific antibodies, antibody drug conjugates, and so on and so forth. Or you can think about the next generation of therapies, where you start to think about radioligand therapies that I talked about during my talk as well. You can think about cell therapies, you can talk about gene therapies. But I don't think the innovation can ever stop. I've been in the industry for almost 25 years now, and I've seen a true evolution, and every year I say this is the best time to be in drug development because I see this innovation coming through. But I again say it now, that it is the best time to be in the industry because we are now continuing to think beyond the present. For example, are vaccines going to be the next iteration as we think about mRNA-based vaccines or personalized vaccines for oncology? Are bispecifics and cell therapies going to change the outcome for patients with autoimmunity? Are we going to have a new way of thinking about neuropsychiatry and neurodegenerative disorders now that we have better tests to test for Alzheimer's disease? Remember, drugs in Alzheimer's disease were developed just based on the clinical way of looking at diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. Now we have P217 tau. Is that a better way to diagnose Alzheimer's disease and select patients and have a precision approach to development there? So there's a lot that is happening, and we have to keep our eyes and ears open so that we can follow the science and bring that innovation faster for patients.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing all those exciting technologies and modalities for us to be inspired and also be passionate about. So speaking of that, in our SAPA community, we have a lot of young professionals. And we are excited about whenever we see a drug is approved, we are excited to see how this will benefit multiple patients. And what advice would you give to the young scientists, drug development, young professionals? What advice would you like to share with the beginners and mid-age levels, and maybe like another tips you learned from this community?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical that whatever you do in life, you're doing it for the right reason, that motivates you, that pushes you forward. So why did you get into biotech or pharmaceutical industry? To follow certain principles, whether it be the science, or if you're in drug development, maybe it is the patient. Are you really committed to that? So when I think about myself, for example, I wake up every morning really challenged by what I need to deliver. And the reason for that is because I'm passionate about caring for people. I'm passionate about changing the quantity and quality of life of people. And I always am trying to solve the next problem. And that drives me every day forward. One of the other things that I've learned in life, don't chase a title and don't chase a salary or a dollar sign or any currency that you follow. Chase a dream. Chase a dream of being in the service of people rather than being self-centric. And if you keep these principles front and center, happiness is yours, our career is yours, and the future is bright.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Like you said, this is the best time to join the pharmaceutical industry, but also we are a whole team and community here to support each other so we can advance ourselves together and bring more value to the patients. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to have you back in the future.
Thank you very much.